Oh, I forgot.
Yep. Yep. So we'll start with Lama Sankata Guru again. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities of Tashita, on a peak of a cloud resembling a clump of extremely white fresh gold, King of Dharma, omniscient, my son Drapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion's throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind is the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanation is an ear ornament of those good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Facing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, lights, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and immensely emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. May whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginning this time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and riches meaningful by abandoning the eight worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy Gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dhammakaya, please let fall the rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losang Drapa's teachings to shine forever. So do the mandala offering. Saji Purki Joshi Meto Trami Rabliji Nide Pati Sangye Jindu Mite Urwa Hidro Kunamda Shila Jabashok. By the merits having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I and my family members and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teaching of the victorious one, Losang, who had the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Kuratna Nandalakanyatayami. By the force having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Son, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their embrace without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. So here we'll do the 5-line mixina 3 times on page 8. Megme se we te Chenrezig, dreame kempe wampo jamperyang, tupong malu jamse sangweda, ganche kepe sungen tongkapa, Losang Drape shabla sowade. We may say we're touching Chenrezig, we may kepe wampo jampaliang, tupong malu jamze sangweda, ganchen kepe suken songkapa, losang trape shabla sowade. We may say we're touching Chenrezig, we may kepe wampo jampaliang, tupong malu jamze sangweda, ganchen kepe suken songkapa, Losangra Pesha Blatsowade. And so here we do the swift return, pray for the swift return of Lama Rinpoche by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pradika Buddhas, victorious Losan, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Buddha's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, we wear the armor of patience that is never discouraged, incomparable venerable good to your make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway to which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of victorious ones, may the smile of our incarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Sangye Chedang Soji Chonang La Changzhe Badu Dang Kyab Suji Dagi Chushi Gi Bonzida Dolam Benje Sangye Duparan Sho Sangye Chedang Soji Chonang La Changzhe Badu Dang Kyab Suji Dagi Chushi Gi Bonzida Dolam Benje Sangye Duparan Sho Sangye Chedang Sogi Chonam La Changzhu Badu Dami Kyabsun Dagi Chushi Gi Bonzidagi Dolam Benji Sangye Drupa Shu Kanki Tuzini Zoni Da Chungji Bangbi Shari Kanki Shun Tenzi Kwadam Dela Changzi Lo Namo Lai Kedan Lu Zhigi Chupan Dana Mi Kedan Lu Kuni Dana Chizam Kamji Kedan Dagi Shuden To Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Shabbat Devi
Shabbat
Sing it.
Oh, good. Namgir kid, this matter talks at us.
Not so cool the can
I'm gonna ask him to unmute.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Oh, that's work.
Hello.
Is that muted?
No, he's not muted. No, his sound's not coming through.
Hello. Hello, 1, 2, 3, check.
It's going through. Do I have to
Hello.
click here?
1, 2, 3.
No,
Hello.
it's just would mute it.
Yeah.
I think it's from his side.
Yeah.
Hello.
I should write to him.
Can I call code?
Good, you know.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. You talking about
Hello, hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
No, the red's
Hello.
up.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I think it's from his side.
Hello.
Oh, wait.
Hello.
Why you tried that?
Hello. Check 1, 2, 3.
Can come to
Hello.
Oh yeah,
Oh, here we go. It was
Ah.
muted for some reason. Hang on.
Hello. Hello.
Sounds like it's coming through the computer.
Hello.
switch to here. Speak low.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. Hello. I think people who are listening online, they can hear though. Hello.
So, yeah, that is.
Oh,
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Otakud.
Yeah.
Good. Parche, technical issue.
아주 참참라 자파산텔라 토틀린 치기요라. 니만 아주 깝깔이야. 아니 토틀린 치기요라. 아니 딘자 캐런슬이 토요나 트래딕시로 치스로. 아 투스만디 토틀린 친 타는 딕사리와스.
That's all. So in some Friday teachings or Friday sessions, we do allocate some time for question and answer sessions, some introduction sessions. So if you have some questions, please keep it ready and we'll dedicate some time for that.
된당 아주 제다 망체들이야. 나중 어제서로지. 다사파산들이야. 니체데고레스. 라. 아니 다 나중 원체리 직 난추기 갈서다. 로탄시고레다 침시고레다 지 람루지어라다 지로 비게 어딘디야 신고야기 니츠르만 보신도 아스라.
So, so usually in most of the Friday sessions, we do give talks about general introduction to Buddhism. And also it's quite important to know about the kind of Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist way of life. These are also essential things to understand.
nganzo pena gyaganalolaya the chuluk mambuyoras ani chuluk so pena laganalaya drive kaptula ani musu cholam kedantozo konzo sibu chini ngodri chigido asra pena silk chu pigi lagan ani silk laganalaya drive kaptula konzo gondam telaya ani trapha kavya teni ani chilagana manju ko kambatusa samlo pe korik sama chanja chen shadi dinalo la ya ta me nimar la ya chusu mambo kanji chusu ni tsabshi la ya bangdigni pigi lagan jega dogore me samlo ge ani tagaran lagalen tani ndrotu ya chi kunzu chashi shatu do asra tesu pe ninji ora shas pe yabu do asra.
If we look to the Indian tradition or Indian as a general, we can see that there are many different religious traditions thriving in India. And whenever you visit a particular temple of that religion, you can see that different religious traditions have different practices, different ritual, and so on and so forth. For instance, if you visit Golden Temple, the temple of the Sikhism, you can really appreciate the practices they follow. As soon as you enter the temple, there is a separate place for you to cover your hair. There is a separate place to clean your clean your feet before you enter the temple, and so on and so forth. So there are certain practices they make sure that every visitor to the temple will follow. So therefore, I personally find it a very kind of encouraging and moving tradition for them to make sure that on a daily basis, thousands of people visited that temple, and they made sure that everyone follows the same practice in order to kind of pay respect and reverence for the tradition. So this is, I personally find it very moving.
인자다 nganzo number sangi chu laya chulu laya ani region reta region za chenbo ke chenbo zo di region to zo ji chu laya ani kuba che chedo re do asra nganzo jan number sangi chu jangore jangyu chu de laya kushib goya di shendo nenga chenbo 아니 장규 출라야 99고였나 아니 추디 땡인기 아니 템발라야 99고야디 임바라스라 아니 추디 냠슬랭인기 조다 겐딩기 데기 아니 추 냠린 치기요레 아니 겐덴발라야 99고야디 아 신도는 기침을 차고 그랬어.
So if we look at that situation from Buddhist point of view, Buddhism also have its own kind of unique practices, rituals, and traditions. And for the time being, the main subject matter or the theme of our study is, of course, Buddhism and the Buddhist philosophy. So since we are studying about Buddhism, it's really important to have kind of respect and reverence to the tradition or to the philosophy that we are studying. And in order to develop that, it's equally important to have respect and reverence to the teaching or the Buddha Dharma. And then yet again, it's equally important to have reverence to the spiritual community or the Sangha who is practicing these teachings. So therefore, it's really important to try to develop kind of respect to Buddha and its teaching as well as the spiritual community.
Tadi bena shingin digi malabaina ani sozogi tanda gentry ser the responsibility se di digi omarasra ani digi dan gentry wasra shingin digi love goyadi ani shingin digi gentry res ani shingin di love sabe jela pigita laglen tange 용인 속이 아니 디난싱기 라렌타르 고야디야 아니 라라수수 겐티 차기도 하스라 다지 팀다 마소나 디 차고 앉아 아니 롱바이 난자 소바된 셈바지 난자 출루된 셈바지나 디게 나노런 종디 디기 팀 키고야디 신도는 기침으로 하스라 단 잠블리나 기침으로 하스라 딘디소로 차기도 하스라.
So, so with regard to that, it is a responsibility of those who understand this situation, really try to educate others and create awareness about this fact to the people who don't understand this. So after the teacher or after kind of introducing about this fact, then it is the responsibility of the individuals to really try to inculcate this into our day-to-day life. So therefore it is a kind of a common established tradition to follow the tradition if you're part of that particular situation. Usually we have this saying like when you are Rome, be like a Roman. So similarly, when you become part of a particular tradition or particular country, it is your responsibility to follow the rules and regulations pertaining to that organization or that country.
Pena nganzuta chö시온디 아니지 마소 마차스 라추 셰로치스 소 마다바 아니 그 chö시긴스니 랍초고요 말했어. 딩안족이 개체슈지기 아니 팀다 딩람 찍차고 왔으라.
Yes. So in Buddhism, another kind of established common practice for the teacher is really not to taught unless it is requested for. So usually, Buddhist teachers do not kind of voluntarily give teachings, so to speak, unless they are requested to give teachings.
테니 추시비 갑둘라 추시에서기 빛나있다. 아니 추시행이 디마 대제 추시에서 디야 랑는 로데기가 바질라 추시 초고 말했어. 딕비기 추팀 코로나를 열어서 추시에 초고 말 디시에 봐이나 아니 추를 마크 번도고 그랬어. 양 비기 이지 열었다 지 아니 베나 nganzu phet bala ya shamo khani gomba nala ya zuya luksu khora yo mares shamo khandro gomba gondam del lawndi ani shamo pi di ani gomba di nangi taji ani kusong tu teng tsubi taji chula ya ani kubegi chedres Tendila soba chiyorda di ko di ne jingzu di yobaina mi sunda jigen tong baina ya semla ya ngoni ji debaki yagi chagen la tenden rogo sares.
So, and then another common practice in Buddhism with respect to giving teaching is that the teacher has to make sure that the listeners, have a kind of proper respect and appreciation towards the teaching. For instance, while the teacher is giving a particular talk or teaching, if the audience is, or rather the listener is getting up and this kind of seem distracted, then the teacher should not continue, should not kind of teach the Dharma. And for instance, in Tibet, there is a tradition for people to kind of really to remove their head before they enter any kind of temple. When they visit a temple, and then in order to kind of show respect to the representation of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in the temple, so they usually remove the head and then enter the temple. So these are some common practices and traditions that is followed in the gesture of showing respect, right? So therefore, if we also adopt similar kind of tradition, then it will also create some positive karma, a kind of positive atmosphere or positive impression to others who are also who are also kind of participating in this, or who are also witnessing this event.
Dadi chula kubai chetubaina kepsan sozula ragores. Di gasi jadam chula kubadan chula teba yobaina ani chug chinlab di rang semlaya kanji sozula ya chinlab tobiachi. Sozula chug chinlab tobaina anzu mikidan tongu yomarda inaya tendang ngumalaya chug chinlab tobaina chig ani sen digi chig nena sadang ani chig ani parche doyala soba dindila tenden keba dugo saris mase ani chig keba chima killing jibana semla gebi pacha shawandi ti keba chimala ya gasi jadam pengiyores.
So and then if you could cultivate respect and faith to the Dharma, then kind of it is beneficial to the individual himself or herself, and then by kind of developing and cultivating respect to the Dharma, you can basically receive the blessing of the teaching. So these instances may not be kind of visible to our naked eye, but somehow the blessing of Dharma definitely kind of you receive the blessings of Dharma by cultivating faith. and respect towards the teaching. This can also help you to kind of remove the obscurations and the other, hindrances that you may encounter in our daily life. So by cultivating respect and faith in the Dharma, you can also remove such hindrances. And then if you are someone who do believe in future lifetimes, then the positive states of being or the positive imprints that you leave in your mental continuum could only bring about positive result in the subsequent lives.
다 대바치 마 신하다 대바치 마시로 하더라. 아니 대바치 등인지 임바이나 때는 냠용부터네. 아니 대바치니 펜도 여비기 서로 용투요레스. 한게 벤서 니살카시징이 더발 신용이스로 간스나 이만 안주 다 직동고 이제 잡된 잡고스나 아니 벤 세라고마도즈나 빼 되니 아니 초교레스 초교 칼라야고요 마레스 아니 다 롬니 페사타일 칼리슈자고라 칼리자고라 드디 되니 다 직니 아니 수부교 차레 니니 다직 비기타 칼라야고요 마레 펜난 제다 토실로 소바는 부요레 아니 부드베 아니 피 사자기 자기라야 아니 토시 페이지 치야마도 토시 서버서버 라기요 마라스라 딘지 게임비 페나 아니 카게 디 쿨라야 마토야로 소바타지 카나라 마토야로 소바 페망부 용그레스라 딩아랑기 추르발야 안간소 대바 슈요로다 셜 대바 요리 직 줄라 카난 조온디 오네 직 줄라 카나에 레바다 베나 사베칼야 람산 차슴세 아니 고소 투텐투 제가 트레일 소바 소만 소고 딘디베 착신 지거레스 데니 당한도 아니 카나다 카콜야 마튼디 nga dili mambu chenyo yoro nga dili mambu chenyo yos migi thegi ani gendu mang yama phebdesa thegi arga kanla ta thagba yoro tigan chutte solution bi thagba di ngandela sar mambu chungyo yange gojo yedange yacha yatamba shu phe nga so shu yesro tanda tu songde yacha yatamba dit ko theba thangna yobanza yacha yatamba phengyo yosares.
So, then if you are someone who does not kind of have faith or respect on the Dharma, then it's a totally different case. Otherwise, if you are someone who could cultivate faith and respect, or who does have a faith, then from your own personal experience, you can really see that different kind of things that unfold in your life owing to having respect and faith to Buddha Dharma. So let me share an anecdote with you, which I've already shared several times in the past. For instance, around 1987 to 89, around that time, when Geshe-la was studying at Sera, that time the facilities are really poor and the conditions are not, kind of good to study. The living conditions of that time were really basic and not enough. So that time, because of the poor facilities, even the foods and the other condiments that they provide are not also fresh. So they have to sieve the rice and the other foods to make sure that there are no insects inside it. So basically the point is that that time the facilities are really poor, and because of their poor facilities they have to face malnutrition. They have to kind of encounter diseases such as developing ulcers on the sides of the mouth and so on and so forth. And then however, the monks during that time have a kind of sincere respect and devotion to Buddha Dharma, and it was it is a tradition for them to prostrate as soon as they enter a temple, And then usually before, at the beginning of the kind of a puja, they usually go to show respect to the, statues that are enshrined there, and pay homage and to pay prostrate there. And then on many occasions, usually what the Geshe-la does was that there is some kind of collection of dirt on the door side. So what he usually do is that he would just kind of put some water on that and kind of collect some kind of dirt from there and apply on the ulcers that is developed on the sides of the mouth. So he find it quite kind of effective in removing those ulcers. So it may sound kind of weird, but the thing is, if you because of the kind of sincere faith that I have, I found it very effective in removing those ulcers. That's all.
딘자 간지 안칸조 니마치마도 말레바 있나야 데니 this 90 제투바나 90 넘버 10 투바나 캡상 요레스 이즈미니 디 넘버 치고 말아서라 계집 아니 수수기다 아니 시신도다 마그바 지금 말다 있나야 마시비 왕기 마그비 소리 차바이나 디 아니 소설의 팬도요 말이스. 소설의 팬도요 말이스로. 내가 용위다 고든로다. 메주소를 참는 쇼문다스라. 디콘 로단지르다. 디 로단지르로.
So, and then some of you might be visiting the center or the teaching for only one time, or some of you might be visiting regularly. So in those times, you may not kind of, your actions or your behaviors may not become kind of disrespectful intentionally, but unintentionally your behaviors or your kind of body language may kind of, seem kind of, if they seem kind of disrespectful, you have to make sure that you show kind of respect to the center, to the community. So this is a kind of something that we should bear in mind.
베낭안조 미스 투바나 베나 야오르무시 나신지 야오르무지기 차두스 난거도서래 이 미스라 두스 체바나야 아니 미디 마가와 차기 말하더라 미디 베시 가그르다 야자 곱슈 고구 미디 가워 용거라다 미디 두스 체바나 미디 가워 용거라 그 자비기 베나단 남비기 토네다 차자지야겠다 룩스저르지단다 아니 줄룩 mambu기다 두스 차자자기도 알아 이마다 두스 체바나 류 남규르디 구비 남바지 이어레스 디 미슬 템바이나야 아니 미디 가워 용거라스 디나싱기 아니 치 베시 돈로 숨제 임바이나야 디기 아니 두스 체온디기 베시 콜야 신나 계사 말했으라 신나 계사 말 당한주 동 낙보도 미 로로지 때바이나 아니 벤나 돈로 치 임바이나 코 마디시시 시기도 왔다 그길래야 하고다 딘자 간지 구비 넘버 땡투바이나 팽거르스로
So, so here let's take an example of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Whenever he appears before the public, he would always show some respect by joining hands, palms together. So this is a sign of kind of bodily sign of or a gesture of showing respect to others. So whenever we see somebody showing that gesture, doing joining the palms together, whenever we see this bodily gesture of respect, everybody who witnesses that will kind of find it joyful, uplifting. So nobody would really get pissed by showing respect. So this is something we should all remember. And then by showing a gesture of respect, it is not only kind of beneficial or rather positive for the others, but it is also very positive for yourself. So, and then by showing this bodily gesture of respect, even it can also create some positive impression on the animals if you show this. If you show them a very kind of fun, aggressive, wrathful appearance and gesture or demeanor, then it will create some fear in the animals. But if you show a sign of, or rather a gesture of respect, it will create a kind of a sense of a peace and serene. So therefore, the physical gesture of showing respect is really important.
자위 안쪽에 대대대식 소리를 그런 속에 먼저 자위기 가위 넘버로디 아니 탐이야 학치에 들어와라 이면 딜레 까고라 녀가도 왔어 그래서 레카들 학치에 들어와나 그걸 고약 녀가 배워라서 아니 참박 잡되나 디어리 아니 지 되는 건 저러지는 다 타와시리 아니 지 사마도라 학치는 들어대와나 그 렘부다 야부 걸어요 말았어 다들 약시 디 두스는 러시아와나 몇 사만 가와 솔라이나 제토야 가두 체와는 빈 녀가다 녀터치에 메죠 어디 어두 시온디 디 베나 콘조이나 투니기요사레스 아 루그 넘버 딘지 텐토바나 그 강갈로 쳐버지래도 하더라 어디 최고 돈이 90 정도래서 루그 딱 90 루그 차서 차가 그랬어.
So, and generally speaking, there are different ways of showing respect, appreciation. There's different ways of expressing that. For example, hugging is one way of expressing kind of appreciation, but that gesture, may be unsuitable in certain circumstances. For example, during the outbreak of COVID, if you're going to hug, then it may, trigger it may infect others if you are already, if you're already positive for that. So, and other cases that for someone like Geshe-la, who is a monk, it may not be, it may not be appropriate to, go everywhere and start hugging. So these are certain gestures which is somehow inappropriate for certain times, certain situations, certain circumstances. However, the gesture of joining the palms together and showing respect to the others is timeless. This is appropriate in every situation and every circumstances. So there is kind of no danger in kind of showing respect by joining your palms together. Yes.
그래서 간지 아니 그발이 된다. 남주기 라다지 시키치야 무슨 거에 지기 배는 간주 건조 세거다. 건조 출루 망보지기다. 건조 세기 시커런도 예명이 하면서라. 지진의 예시라. 배는 간주기 아니 넘버 3기 최종 나라야 아니 건조 숨 세티 요레스 건조 숨 대치 그런 거 된다디 건 쇼스라니 지대인더라 건 세디 만은 잠블이 나물이야 치심도 건부 되는 잘라다 마스는 건 슈디 다른 단체 슈디 그러면은 안디 난게 니야 벤 초도 켜봐 약시 저러지 딘지 고기도 왔어요. 딘지 라기도 왔어.
So, and then there are also certain kind of terms or other nomenclatures that are also essential to understand. For example, the Tibetan equivalent of, I think, God, or the Tibetan term for reference to the three jewels is called Kun Chok. In Tibetan, it is made up of two syllables, Kun and Chok. And then the first syllable, Kun, has the connotation of kind of scarcity or rare, So meaning the three jewels are very rare to find, very rare to accomplish that state, so to speak. And then the second syllable, Chok, has this connotation of supreme or ultimate, right? The supreme. So therefore, the three jewels are not only very rare to accomplish, rare to find, but it is supreme among others. So therefore, it has this, the Tibetan equivalent term for the three jewels has the connotation of rare and supreme.
Terdenza ta nganzu namba sawa chingi mambu yungu yore re kana kanzu yungu yore ani ngoni gi tachi namba cheondi samlo tanya kicheshu di konjo song tolya samtanya di ra namba tsudama su di konjo somla ya ichi yoda me sedi zo chag do asra ta konjo somla ya ichi yongya la ya konjo somgi ani karsorta ani ngondi tanda di 신고야 디 신도는 기침을 해도 살아
That's all. And then, it is again really important to know the different qualities of three jewels, especially those who are, kind of new to the Buddhist tradition, who are newly joined. So if you consider yourself as a practicing Buddhist, then the main thing, kind of the demarcation between a practicing Buddhist and non-practicing Buddhist is really your kind of your devotion towards the three jewels. So in order to develop faith or respect to the three jewels, it is really important to kind of fully comprehend and fathom the different exalted qualities of three jewels. So without fully understand the exalted qualities, then it's difficult to generate respect.
데니다 데리다 군조 숨슬라운디다 끔바임바 디난기 초임바디 톨섬다나 고아지라기도 하스라 고아지라기다 끔세 디 톨섬다운디 베나 산주주 겐주 숨디다 아니 끔바임바디 촉징니 섬다운디 아니 통끔바 된 통이 신도 끔바임바 pen zambling gi mil jawaina zambling gi mi nanglo ya jingoni gi sanji chu gendu sum tongyen di ha kwangyen di ta nyung jima do yomarwas di chani kola ya kun sedi sikdi jar chogo sares ta pen zambling na manyung toni shebaina ani nganzu tongu yomar mado ani ta nyung imba da druptuk samares ranganzu manthong samjigi nyung imba di drugu chona kalkha borada imba ina ya nganzu thongya di shintu komba inza di chani ani konse gi sikti jar chogo sares
So as I explained earlier, the Tibetan equivalent of three jewels, Triratna, has two syllables, kun and chok. And as this term has the connotation of rarity as well as the supreme. So basically what it is, suggested is that the qualities of the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, are very rare and and supreme among others. However, when we try to understand this concept, when we especially talk about the rarity of the three jewels, we should not look from the kind of numerical kind of point of view, but rather from the observer's point of view. So just because we do not see there are many Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha does not mean there is no Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in the world. But from an personal kind of observer's point of view, it's really difficult for the individual beings to kind of to encounter Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and to also develop respect to be able to kind of appreciate the exalted qualities. It's very rare for individuals' point of view to be able to appreciate the exalted qualities. So from that point of view, we can say that the three jewels are extremely rare.
Teni chokchini kunjosum slaundi kunjosum di nganzu gu tobja imbachi nganzu di tobgi yobachi sungu yorosra tati tobja reda ina ya tobngen di ani shindu ta 니뇽라 더 껌부라더라 간스는 디 토발이야 아니 베준단 깔레다 지 균소만부 지 상고고 여반사 디 중이 깔레카보다 니뇽인 반사 디차냐 아니 건세기 식디 자르초고 와서레스 간지 딘디 건세기 가진 건부를 세기 아니 저 디기 pen len su samdani du samdamana only ditole sam pe mo tang yo sare ra
So, and furthermore, when we talk about the three jewels, this is something that we always seek to achieve in our own life, a state of being where we always strive to achieve that state. However, then if you look, how many people could really actualize that state, we could kind of say that not many people could accomplish that. The reason is that in order to achieve that kind of, in order to embody such exalted qualities, it really involves lots of hardship and practice. So therefore, not many people kind of fail to, adopt such practices. Therefore, they could not accomplish it. So from that point of view, we can also say that it's the three jewels are really rare in that respect.
the dindri ton samdamana sangi di any sangileya tebayongya sangile tebakiya ani sangileya ani sangi kombo drubding gi gendung gi deim bayna ya only the dindri gi pe kache durichida ani bebachimbu thandleni ta kali gyabding ji mo sorondi ani tebakiya pensar wasra.
So when we try to look at Buddha and Sangha, for instance, from that point of view, how rare they are, how difficult it is to accomplish that state, then we could really appreciate the preciousness of Buddha and Sangha. And then again, Sangha is someone who kind of put the teachings into practice and who undergoes lots of difficulties to achieve that statehood. So if we really understand that kind of state, that journey, then automatically we develop some kind of appreciation and to feel kind of motivated by these qualities.
Cancer chiva me tangan kama shivchu smadamando. Volunteer.
So now,
yeah.
Now we'll dedicate some time for question and answers. So feel free to ask if you have any questions and doubts.
Okay, yeah, I had a question about, it's not exactly related to everything we talked here, but about attachment and detachment. And I came across a lot of like examples of attachment to, like things and people. And then I was kind of like thinking about what about like our beliefs or our ideology, and how in a way can we be detached from these, because sometimes we're grasping on them, and even like sometimes we attach our identity to these beliefs. So I was wondering, how can we have a sort of detachment from that?
Keladi tiwa de dirisha tanda nga zo doicha sejero wata attachment doicha shencha soro doicha soro di kola resha ani ta nga zo di shencha la samtawi kapso ani samre nga zo soso ki tawa da samtang da la shencha yungra doicha kira 수수기 삼로 단단로 수수기 따와딩에 따와디도 야보이디 삼로 단단딘디 삼스디 신자 용으로 아니 참르 양 수수기 모오지라 ngan디 삼산로다 직 수수기 모올레 신자 제 용도 수수기 모 ngad인디지 디라 신자 제 용도 제가 수수 모오다 수수기 따와다 삼로 단단 디라 신자 레비 값 아니 디기 신자디 다빵 가서 빵 빵수 컨트롤 레스 제가 드리시 This is a very difficult question.
아디르다 다가라는 계란이 저디 오늘 간술 딘디 용거래 빼는 가로 진바이나 당갈에 현자 이어바이나 현자 이어바이나 현자 체주디 아니 제르모치기 템바티 레 현자 용야기 닌가도 아즈라 당가 가슈디 자체슈디 나랑은 디통구 여반사 데라 아니 지 현자 용야기 닌가지도 아즈라 용 시바는 디 용야기 닌가도 아즈라
So your question is really kind of relatable in our daily day-to-day experience. For instance, if I take myself as example, because I have tremendous admiration and respect to Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, so there is a tendency for me to have attachment to Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching and his tradition. Naso?
Tayimbayna dangi lent korajan chigindaro. Tayimbayna yang Savigi ani that retan decha slawandi ani lo chok sulong bajilaya kogiyores pi nguyu nezu takta ta mutungi lojilaya tagiyores teya pen danganzu ji 셀리게바지 따바지 라 초진 시에바나 셀리게바 그 콜리 셀리게바지 근데 연된직 따고 바니 연된 셀리게바 때바이나 콜리 연된 여바 딜리 셀리게바지 때바이나 아니 착신을 줘야기 닌가 요레스 다 되니 근데 다 제르무치기 템바디 약부 드디지리 세야지다 pen cel gebaji yor vesana ce tame baji leg bichade pen ani nganzu sem gi yonden ya compel the drone di combat tame the pay your sanajing kolye ce tame bag ani leg bichabe ni nganzu ce zawni shama to yage tame baji banza ani lui dili cel givigi leg bichaji and that to yagi reward jumundas. The medigi and delaya shakshin said the yonya a chojinia and majoroj. The Garanga this is somewhat that Kazusingi any pe Yabute Shawanaya, Tilaya, Chakshin Dragi, Nyanga Majosoroji, Tongores. And did Sally give a diet that could 2 years. Yeah.
And then again, when we talk about attachment in general, usually attachment is understood as a kind of a partial state of mind, a mind that could not see the whole overall picture of the reality that is presented there. And then when we try to look at certain things from the point of view of attachment, attachment usually would see the qualities, attachment would usually kind of exaggerate the qualities of the object, and you would kind of tend to see an extra quality that is actually not there in the object. So therefore, attachment is a mind that is kind of a partial and that kind of try to see and exaggerate the qualities of a particular object and so on and so forth. So now if it again take the example of my admiration for Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, for instance. You know, there might be a tendency for me to have attachment on the teaching. But however, if you look at from the point of view of the quality of Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching, so the minute when we see certain qualities, when we exaggerate the qualities that are not there on the object, then only it becomes attachment. But if you look at the Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching, the quality itself are really exalted, and you know, we cannot conceive or rather exaggerate the qualities that are not there, because the qualities are there. So therefore, from that point of view, from that respect, it is kind of quite difficult to develop or to rather generate attachment to Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching from that respect, because we have to see, we have to exaggerate certain qualities that are not there in the object itself.
아니 ndachagi nimbo tartubadi 아니 최남기 내루 도비로디 샤요레스 딘자 아니 차신 nimbo tartubadi 네급 그 변나간서다 직착바 라보 도야기 체도 변나 무두고 공야로 소비 탑시 마무지 제거리네 tartu고는디 비기 무기 nim보디 아니 최남기 내루 도마니 텐도비로디 송구요레스.
And then when we talk about detachment, we really have to understand what antidote can be applied to remove attachment. How can we remain detached from this? So the ultimate antidote of attachment is obviously the wisdom or rather the insight into the true nature of things, or rather the emptiness of things, insight into the absence of inherent existence. But there might be some kind of temporary antidote to remove attachment. For instance, there are certain practices that attempts to view the unattractive nature of the object and so on and so forth. These are kind of temporary methods to remove attachment. However, on the ultimate level, the wisdom that sees the true nature really serve as an antidote to eradicate attachment.
Tinzada nelu tombani tobi lodi ani nelu dribi rigbala teni tombani tobi lodi kego gras ra nelu ani pena tombani dribi ge ani chenamji nelu tenla pavita riglam jora riglam del teni chenamji nelu togo gores tinza ta darang ngazuta rigba jaya res ra rangi tawada ani rangi samsu yada maya sedi pigi nelu dribi rigbala jarchen ra nelu dribi rigba dan tungu duda ani yabu yimbadi takche goyada di rigba dan gegeduna digmebadi takche tugo gores.
So here, when we talk about understanding the true nature as an antidote to attachment, obviously this understanding is kind of cultivated based on reasoning, based on logic. So therefore, we have to see from that kind of logical perspective whether your, for instance, when we talk about attachment to your ideology, to your identity, and so on and so forth, we really need to see that whether your understanding, whether your approach towards your identity, whether it's your identity, your ideology, or whatever it is, if that kind of approach contradicts with the true nature, or remains in line with the true nature. So if that is something that is grounded or supported by reasoning, then it is okay. Otherwise, if your approach is kind of falls beyond the logical reasoning, then it is important to further check that.
Tanda ayan dewa ga songre tningi jong de tema soma din dirija ngan sanji cho yong men sin seji cho la medanya kanshi rigba dembi tsik teni temba yong sin zin set
아니 디로기나
쉽게 말해.
디르기나 그래서 다 테마선 디 쉽게 받아 말이게라 슝심바진비요 나서
어디 이렇게 디 된다지 지라 디페니 이제 디려다 된다 거만 디려서라 간식 리버 뎀비지 디니 템바 용자 간식 리버 뎀바디 엔 디안타 원징고 그레스
oh yes so there is a beautiful quotation from a text called Vishesh Staff, which means obeisance which means praise to Buddha for his unique qualities. So there is a text. So in that, there is an expression that which goes, "I do not have any particular kind of disrespect for the non-Buddhist traditions. I do not have any kind of attachment, or rather, a biased, a view towards the Buddhist tradition. However, if the tradition itself is supported or grounded in logical in reason, then only I accept it reliable." So the essential point being made is that whatever it is, we have to make sure that it is underpinned by logical reasoning. So,
산점들이 토마송데 디 여러분 지금 딱 봐도 하는 거라 단다 섹제들 세션들 레버 딸랑아이 가사디 디레스타 라 다토나 다 딘디지 토라다 아니 로투바이나 데니 총징 아니 타와다 셴작 로티 도투야기다 제와지 요르마도 셴 칼카고도 아서 간들라 간들라 셴작 도야 신 칼카고도 아서
so. Then again, it's equally important to reflect on this particular statement or quotation from Buddha, where he says, you should analyze the teachings as the goldsmith would assay the purity of the gold by cutting, rubbing, and so forth. His Holiness also emphasized the importance of this statement. So, by applying this understanding into our day-to-day life, then we have to make sure that we know whether our approach is become, stained by attachment or not. Otherwise, it's really important to see from our everyday mundane perspective.
There, kanji nilu tombani dribi ribale teni nilu tobi loji nilu tobi lo kombi tobi teni chagdan go gores lawandi chagdan go gores lawandi tendang ngoma karla gores lawandi chagdan lo sayadi ani cholong cheng nguyu nitsul le ge tatsul lo dengi loji yimbadi sewujin ta tenguyores ro der dinza ta kanjin dor duna nguyen nesu kari imba di tolla katsu samlo tang tu bayna ani shenja lo ani chi cholong lo samalo ani nelu tobi lo di tobi ani ngaro yaji yunguyores.
So, so here when we talk about insight into true nature, being kind of generated by logical reasoning that supports it. So the point is that when we have attachment towards a particular object, then our approach become biased, partial, incomplete. So we have to understand that such views are kind of distorted way of looking at things, distorted way of perceiving that object. So when we understand that our approach is distorted, or rather stained by partiality and so on and so forth, then we are basically not able to see the reality of the object. However, the more kind of analyze we do, the more we find the true nature of the things, then only we could say that if our approach is biased, or if our attitude is kind of partial and so forth. So if we find our way of thinking is unbiased, meaning if it's underpinned by logical reasoning, then we can only adopt that kind of view.
That Tombaning said 개침부 쉬우지진 송대디 윤전 델트 거라서라 변호 산지 송 아니 юмчему шеру ипарду чумбас мин коралая юмчему шеру ипарду чумбас эти 아니 юмчему 세 가진 따르스라온디 아니 초주 자와세드 제바 총사기 юм따버디 아니 шеру ипар두 чумбас 차고레스 뉴무 자트 셔동 아니 세바 체통이 니바디 아니 шеру ипар두 чумбas 텔요레스 디기 기획이 탑된딩이 니루 동반이 템페 아니 리빌람니 체딩이 레범디 아니 셰로지 파르드시면 도드 차고야자 아니 이혼치모 셰로지 파르드시 바세 센드 소르라서 라
So, so here again, you know, the understanding of emptiness or understanding of the true nature of things is kind of considered a really important thing. For instance, if you look at the Prajnaparamita Sutras, so these sutras are giving the term of the Mother Sutra of Prajnaparamita and so on and so forth. The reason why they are referred by the term Mother Sutra is because all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are kind of, you know, their qualities generated based on by practicing the Prajnaparamita or by practicing the true nature, by perceiving the true nature of reality. And all the 84,000 different mental afflictions, the ways of, you know, the ways of avoiding them, the ways of shunning these 84,000 afflictive emotions are taught in this Prajnaparamita Sutra. So therefore, from these sutras, we could really see how different mental afflictions can be removed, how positive qualities or true insight into the reality, or how Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are born from these sutras. So therefore, the Prajnaparamita Sutra is often termed as the Mother Prajnaparamita Sutra.
텐즈 계란기 단단한서 베나다 데니 덴시 하든다 덴시 콜야 고데우진 라무소르무치 송 탭촌치 요르스 간도 벤존남도 알아 어딘디테스치 장토바나 텐데 야보요르스 디 야보페요르스 테니시 니타 원네치 소순 넘버 인고 마레스 넘버 매나야 넘버 산지비기 따지 따르군 저탄자 디지 심바이나 야시자다마 소순 남절레 팽그레스로 데다
And then from your individual's point of view, it's really important to kind of study and learn about this concept. For instance, in the library, there are two booklets by Lama Sopa Rinpoche on True Truths and the Four Noble Truths. So if you could kind of read those books, then you can really feel the depth of the Buddhist philosophy, at least, you know, by understanding this different concept and philosophical things. It will also be a huge, great kind of intellectual exercise for the individual as well.
Next.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question. In Buddhism, we are taught to follow righteousness and do the good thing. But also in the world, you see so much evil and wrongdoings. And sometimes the evil or the wrongdoers overpower somebody who's doing nice. So I just am having a hard time understanding this and why the universe or nature allows for this to happen. And as a human being in this world, how should you deal with this?
Chivadi dirishikila nga tso ta nangbe chua nanglo la gewa dhukuri dikwa pongore se kichi shiki yorwas. Ini ya ta nga tso nyeri pena ta nyeri tsobe nanglo la tewe kapsula ani ta megewe le tsamngi pe mesipi mambo yores ra. Ani kabri tende megewe le chingi ta lega duga chidingi desu chik gyaga top dewe sora tende negab tete tongudu asra. Lega yaga chidingi desu nipashira matuyanchi lega duga chidingi desu ya gangla shor dingi sora tende nide ta tongudu as. Tende yinbi kapsula Korangi ta chik sem nanglo la ta di kalo chuni la Koran chida chik kasoro duga di gyaga top kwaya di kandis sigi yona di kandis yung shingiri se chorwa. Tende ki Koran samlo rabshi koji tende tokwa yung dus tako duga chidingi di gangla shodi yora ngoni china nga tsu le yaga chigu yorde ta nyeri tsobe nanglo la lega duga chidingi di gewa chingi di su samsan pam debi sora wada tende netang tongudu was di chidi ta di tes samtaya kapudu di takalor kwa takta roji kandis nga tu samtango yanast.
Where are you from? Where are you from? Dharamshala, India.
Ani jagar vela.
Jagaji.
Naso.
Acha. Namaste. Tanganzu len dot dum deshu di namandar matru sadires. Nganzu tonzu le ya konzu jaga du samna ya. Tandang ngomala tanganzu chug ton samdana jaga toyo mares.
Naso.
Digila
Naso. So here, with respect to your question, it is important to introduce a concept called there is a gap between how things appear to us and how things really exist. So from spiritual point of view, those people who are engaging in these evil acts, from spiritual point of view, from dharmic point of view, they could not win over the good and virtuous activities.
Tandang ngomong le ya karsa tanganzu tong matuya ta kangaji redo ta dita ra nganzu tong matuya kangaji re mado nganzu se de zobadan teni kanya yo mareslana tendi tsawani ni re mado sa tandang ngomala nganzu kewa gyun rogo ya di ngubi nezula gyasa gyatang parari ngubi nezula nganzu kewa gyun rogo yores kewa chima yotak chu yores kewa chima yobada kewa chima tengi mambu yungo warada ani dik druptu tinzam nekab keb bigi gita ching jigding gita sula ya kola ya gyaka suru jobana tendang ngoma midi pam di yores dikwa bigi wile che dingi di pam di yores chug toni samdana diris darwa tanganzu chiwa chile di chug toni ta keji she warara tan jigding toni keji she wana kyan ngab gel de kya pam se di ko chuda chu da zawani ni mandre go toni keji wa di chani keji na ko nezu logar was mato chug toni keji she wana dikwa bigi wile chingi di pam de yor mado gyaga zawani toyo mares.
Yes. And then when we kind of try to look at any situation, it is important to view it from different perspective. It's really important to have a kind of a holistic approach when we try to understand a particular situation. For instance, with regard to the question that you raised, usually there are certain things that is not, that we cannot perceive into the ordinary eye, so to speak. For instance, when we talk about past and future life, for instance, the possibility of the future lives. So from spiritual point of view, we might see that there are people, the evils may overpower the virtue and so on and so forth. But from a dharmic point of view, if you try to understand the situation from a very kind of a broad perspective, then they are not really winning over the virtues, because we have to understand from multiple lifetimes. So obviously the possibility of the future lifetime is quite kind of, we can understand it from many children who could recollect memories from past life. So therefore, we have to undergo this multiple life and so on and so forth. So if we try to understand this situation from multiple lifetime, if you try to understand the situation from this kind of point of view, then we can say that evil actions could never win over a virtuous action from that perspective. That's all.
Reda 최근 직den이 로가 치고 걸더라. 최근 직den이 로가 마치와나 되는 요그래서 배워더니 계속 걸 시행 맞다. 최근 직den이 로가 치서질은 직된 거랑 돈 로스 시행인데 게다 폼세게 니수치거리. 최 돈 시행인데 니수치 배드 로가. 되니 제일 담아야나 되니 싸우니 용 말했더라.
That's all. So it is again really important to make a distinction between understanding certain situations from a mundane point of view and understanding certain situations from a spiritual point of view. So if we kind of somehow mixed up these two understandings, then it will become problematic. However, if you try to make a clear distinction between mundane ways of looking at things and the spiritual ways of looking at things, then it will become very clear whether certain things become virtuous or non-virtuous. So we have to be able to look this particular situation from this broad perspective that includes both mundane as well as the spiritual perspective.
Yeah, 지금 디점기 체도 아니 캡산 찍고 뭐도 싸움 당하지만 미리 추킬랭기요 말았으라. 추케 많은데 추코랑 팬도 매바지 썸당 거라더라. 추케 밀랭이 미디 추디 팬도 매바지 통구열에서. 나 추케 랭이지기 추 남다 징이지 뭐니 직딩기 차와 간드 징이 바이나 임부 매바지 통거래서. Gyupenjo said that Tam the mean the Nyandala Soba di be Nimbu Mevach Tongores. Tindi Chen Namda Chingi Mizo Tar Shivi Kabdogi Manaya, Sembal Chichin. Tanga Java Chima Java Yavuj Lingris and Gawe Tony. Gawa the Debi Tony, and it gave Chimala in Rosha Tindi, Yungu. That same dig triple change then. 타마 시위가 들었다 규변주 상만 하고 시로고 딱 넘라든 직작 토니 시로에 드리는 거라서라 디 몇 로가레스다디
So so again it is again important to make a distinction between mundane ways of looking at things as well as spiritual ways of looking at things. For example, if somebody kind of views certain situations from only mundane perspective, from only if he does not kind of take into account the possibility of the future lives, then such individuals may not think about their future lifetimes, the well-being of future lifetimes. So to such an individual, all the practices that are associated for the betterment of subsequent lifetime may seem very meaningless. But from the spiritual point of view, to someone who is kind of totally immersed and engaged himself or herself in spiritual practices, to such an individual, all the mundane efforts, all the mundane endeavors for try to gain fame, wealth, and everything, they all seem so meaningless for the people, so those individuals who are deeply engaged in spiritual practices. So those beings who are engaged in spiritual practices and who wish to who could see who could think about the betterment of subsequent lifetimes. So such individuals, they really see the mundane efforts, mundane endeavors that is directed for the fulfillment of this life alone seems very meaningless. So to such individuals, they may not put very importance on gaining fame and wealth on this lifetime alone. So when these people kind of, even at the time of death, they usually dies very peacefully without any sense of regret or fear. But on the other hand, if you only think about this lifetime, if you have put so much effort to gain fame and wealth only for this lifetime alone, if you think this life is the only life, then at the time of death you have a tremendous sense of regret and fear for losing everything that if you have accomplished. So therefore it's really important to make a distinction between these two different ways of looking at things. That's
도전아. 언제 샤오라.
okay.
So we'll go to the final Lamrim prayer. Page 12 of the small booklet. For my two types of merit is vast as space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become a chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of the complete graded paths to the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by even this greater path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the pure praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Jonchu semcho rinpoche make panam geguchi gepa nyompa me pai gone gondu pewa sho. Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Tupinla.